All right, what's going on, guys? Back at it, breaking down NFL Week 5. NFL just really hasn't been our friend. I think we're trying to get a little too cute, trying to get a little bit different. You just got to move on. I mean, you can't just dwell over it. This is a weird slate, so they're doing, the London game. I believe there's 6 noon games, 4 afternoon games. Matchups aren't the greatest, but you just got to work with whatever they give you. So let's take a look at the top stacks. We'll start with that first and then go position by position. So right now, Stochastic's top stack tool has Detroit, Philly. Let me make sure I'm on Fanduel. Yep. Detroit, Philly, Kansas City, Miami, Cincy, Tennessee, the Rams, Houston, Minnesota. This is literally everyone here. So, and obviously it's the first round of bye weeks, so that's when these slates kind of condense down a bit. So obviously, you got Detroit playing against Carolina, which looks really good. The one thing is Amon-Ra St. Brown is not expected to play. Khalif Raymond is a good option. Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta looks amazing here. He's been on fire as a rookie. Um, Philly against the Rams looks pretty decent. Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, everyone's healthy, at least to my knowledge. DeAndre Swift has been amazing. Kansas City against Minnesota. This game should be a shootout. I mean, Kansas City's defense is pretty good, but I think if Kirk can just air the ball out to Justin Jefferson, either side of this game looks really good. The one thing I have a hard time with Kansas City is just their salaries. But I mean, if you can get Mahomes, Kelsey, do a run back with Jordan Addison, that should be fine. Um, I wrote down for top wide receivers, like as an honorable mention, Rashid Rice, because he's only 5K. I don't know how much run he's been getting. You can also do, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney if you really like, but those guys, I mean, I'm not saying they don't do anything, but clearly the number one guy is Travis Kelsey. Miami against the Giants. Obviously, this is an amazing spot for them. I just don't know. There's blowout potential. That's the issue. Cincinnati against Arizona. Cincinnati hasn't been looking right. I know Joe Burrow isn't playing at 100%. If you didn't see, Jamar Chase was frustrated after the game and he said that he's always open. So take whatever you want from that. I do think that Joe Burrow is going to target him more. This has got to be a get right game. They haven't looked good. They're, one of the best, supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL. So, I mean, this looks like a really good spot for them. Honorable mentions I wrote down were Baltimore, Houston, and the Rams. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's been having a pretty good year, and it's kind of gone under the radar. He's got Odell Beckham and Rashad Bateman back. I still like Zay Flowers a little bit more, but that's like they're fully healthy now to somewhat extent. Houston, CJ Stroud has been looking really good. There's some stat that he is the first rookie out of X amount of attempts that hasn't thrown an interception. He's been looking good. The Rams, the only reason why I say that is Cooper Kupp is back and there's no limit, like no snap count limit, so that's really good. I do think Philly's secondary hasn't looked amazing all year. Getting Cooper Kupp back, plus you have Puka Nacua. I think this is a great spot for Stafford. Can definitely get different with the Rams. So let me pull up the projections. So let me fix this really quick. We're gonna start we're gonna start with QBs. So we got Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa. Joe Burrow, Richardson, Cousins, Goff, Lamar, Wilson, Stafford. So this is everyone here. If you want to pause this here or just take a look at this, I'm recording this at 1:25 at night and I've been awake since 6 a.m. So this is pretty much going to be up to date. Um, so I just wrote down the first five guys and some honorable mentions, kind of like what I've been doing. Jalen Hurts, 8,600 projected for 24.29 fantasy points. Good spot against the Rams. The Rams have been pretty scrappy. A lot of people are counting them out with the Cooper Cup injury, and Puka Nacua has been pretty solid. I do think this is going to be a lot closer of a game than people expect, but I mean, it's Philly. They're gonna find a way to pull this out and win it. Patrick Mahomes, he's Patrick Mahomes. You can take either side of the game. Kind of like I was just saying, I actually already bet the over on this game. It should be a good one. It's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what more can I say? He's 9,200, projected for 23. I don't know. Just pair him up with Kelsey, Sky Moore, Rashid Rice, do whatever. The thing, like Tua, I understand. The only concern, kind of like I was just saying about the top stacks, blowout potential, just because his offense is insane. I guess this is a get right game from the Giants' perspective, just because of the fact that they went to the playoffs last year and Daniel Jones looked good. This season, he just hasn't looked good. But going up against Miami's offense, it might be hard for the Giants to actually do something in this game. Joe Burrow is my favorite play on the slate, and here's why. He has 7,000 playing against Arizona. Arizona's been kind of one of those teams too that, they play well, sort of. This is like as stupid as this is going to sound, this is a key game for Joe Burrow and the Bengals to like get back on track. I don't know what Funk is going to want to do tomorrow in terms of what stack and what we're doing. Regardless, I'm going to be making a Cincy stack and maybe run it back with like James Conner or Marquise Brown. I think this is a great spot for them. And plus, he's just 7,000. You can just make so much out of that. And so the next guy we'll talk about, Anthony Richardson, 8,300 projected for 19 fantasy points. Playing against Tennessee's defense, which is good. 8,300 is a healthy price tag. He's got the rushing upside. He can rush for touchdowns. So I really like that spot. Honorable mentions, I kind of talked about Stafford already. CJ Stroud, I talked about. Kind of like I said, Lamar Jackson's having a quiet, good year, and now he's got Odell Beckham back with Rashad Bateman. He's obviously got Zay Flowers still. He's 8,400. He's $100 more than Richardson. They're the same player in terms of rushing upside and whatnot. So Lamar's a pretty decent spot here as well. Playing against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been, I haven't really looked into them too much, truth be told, but I mean, I don't think it'll be that big of an issue for Lamar. I also wrote down Jared Goff, obviously playing Carolina's defense. He's not as high ranked as I thought he is. Jared Goff is 7,400 projected for 18 fantasy points. I'm just more interested in Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. There's somebody else I can't remember. Marvin Jones, I think. Sam Laporta, obviously. But we'll get to that soon. So let me pull up top running backs. I'll put the link in the description of Stochastics data that you guys can use and all that. So right now it's got Bijan Robinson, David Montgomery, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Devon Chain, whatever his name is, Alvin Kamara, Kyron Williams. Everyone's here basically. So, kind of like I said earlier, if you want to pause it, you know, Here's everything. Um, let's just go through the top five really quick. Bijan is in play, playing against Houston. I know Houston hasn't been playing as what we expected them to be playing, as in not good football, but it's Bijan Robinson. He's gonna get a lot of action. David Montgomery is probably the chalkiest person on this slate with no Jahmyr Gibbs. They also don't have St. Brown, so he's just going to see a lot of action. 8,500 projected for 17 fantasy points. He's going to be a beast. Derrick Henry, 9K against Indy. Last week he went pretty crazy against the Bengals. 9K, I understand, against Indianapolis. Might be a little tough unless you play Joe Burrow and maybe get a couple cheap pieces, but I mean, still in play. Joe Mixon at 7K as well, along with Joe Burrow against Arizona. I love Devon on chain, kind of like I said with just Miami in general. They're good, you can get to them, but excuse me, blowout factor. He'll probably still see a good amount of run considering um they beat Denver by 50 and he was just going on a tear. So I can definitely see him still getting some run. Um, I don't mind James Conner, I guess. Kyron Williams, I don't like. Alvin Kamara, I kind of like against New England. They're pretty banged up. Kamara 7,100. There's not much else I like here. Saquon was just ruled doubtful for the game. We all know Jonathan Taylor is back. Um, he's on a limited snap count, but week by week he'll get more playing time. Isaiah Pacheco is kind of interesting. Truth be told, I don't know Minnesota's rush defense all that well. Um, I think I've said it before with Kansas City. The issue becomes is they rotate Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, and Pacheco a lot, so it's kind of hard. If Jerick McKinnon's having a good game, he's going to get majority of the run. Um, Somebody tweeted this out, and I can't remember who. Brees Hall's going to be pretty chalky as well. So if you play cash games, he's going to be your guy. Denver's defense has given up a lot of fantasy points to the opposing RB1, and he's going to get a lot of snaps. So I really like Brees Hall. Gus Edwards, I guess, um just because he's starting for Baltimore, there really isn't much else. I guess you can go Algier at 5,800. I don't know what the snap count is like for Bijan or Algier. I don't want to play Madison against Kansas City. You could do Javonte Williams if he's back against the Jets, I guess. I'm just scrolling through and there really isn't much. I know a lot of people are saying McLaughlin from Denver is getting some time, but I mean, nothing to really prioritize. Um, let's do wide receivers. So top wide receivers, it is Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Puka, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Pittman, Hopkins, Cup, Collins, Olave. Everyone's here. There's actually a lot of good pieces that I like, and actually some I didn't really write down, truth be told. So let's just do the top five. Justin Jefferson, 9,200, projected for 17 fantasy points. It's Justin Jefferson. He's, you know, the best wide receiver in the NFL. Tough matchup against Kansas City's defense, but if they're going to get anything going on offense, Kirk Cousins has to target him a lot. Tyreek Hill against the Giants, great spot here. Kind of like I said, blowout factor might affect uh, time on the field, but regardless, he should get you at least one touchdown and maybe a good chunk of yards. Jamar Chase, I kind of already said how much I like the Bengals in this spot. Jamar Chase, after he came out and said that he's always open and he's frustrated with how the season started, I expect a good bounce back game from him. AJ Brown against the Rams looks good here. It's Philly, pretty good spot. On the flip side, Puka, he's been amazing, obviously, as a rookie, but now he's got Cooper Kupp back, so he's going to be losing some targets. But I mean, Stafford is Stafford. He'll just zip the ball to whoever. Definitely a good spot. Waddle, I sort of like. I'm not too big on him. Who else did I write down? Garrett Wilson. We saw what Zach Wilson did, and he's just been targeting Garrett Wilson a lot more. So that's definitely a good spot. Sorry. If you want to save a little bit of money instead of going with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith looks good. Pittman looks good, even though last week he went missing for whatever reason. We stacked him with Richardson and he like didn't do a damn thing. A lot of people I've been seeing on Twitter are really high on Hopkins just because he's playing Indianapolis. Truth be told, I didn't really look too deep into it, but it's a good spot. I just don't like Tannehill. I mean, unless he just throws it up and it's a 50-50 ball, Hopkins has good shots. Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown has been getting a lot of targets and receptions. We have him in a season long play on Prize Pick, so he's been getting the ball a lot. Really like that spot. I know it's only half PPR, but if he can get a good amount of yards and a touchdown with some decent number of receptions, he should be good. You can go Nico Collins or Tank Dell. Either one of those guys are pretty good. They've kind of like I said earlier, Houston's been shocking a lot of people in terms of having CJ Stroud actually like performing well. I know D'Amico Ryans is an amazing I believe he was a defensive coach and now he's taking over. So definitely a good spot there. I wrote down Rashid Rice because he's 5K. And, instead of Mahomes throwing it to Kelsey all the time, he's going to throw it to him, Sky Moore. I know they like to rotate the tight ends a little bit, but I mean, Rice is more of a flyer guy. I believe he's 5K, something like that. Definitely not. Let me look really quick. And let me find his actual price. Yeah, he's 5K. Like I said, kind of a flyer guy, but if you're playing multiple lineups, nothing wrong with maybe trying to get him in. You can go Odell, Bateman, or Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is your best bet just because he isn't injured, but you can get a little different with Odell or Bateman. I wrote down Jordan Addison as well. Um, Instead of going to Jefferson, or KJ Osborne as well, you can go with either one of those guys. Kind of like I said, Cleve Raymond and Josh Reynolds are going to be pretty chalky. You can definitely go there as well. Obviously, St. Brown, their best wide receiver, is out. I'm just kind of scrolling through the top wide receiver projections to see if anything else is really catching my eye, but nothing else is really, no, nothing really else. So yeah, I'll just go over honorable mentions one more time. Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Rashid Rice, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, any receiver from Baltimore as well isn't that bad. I won't spend too much time on tight ends because Funk and I are kind of like, unless you have the salary, you can go to Travis Kelce, but they did something weird, and I think it's because of the stupid Taylor Swift thing because she's got like an album called 1989. So what they did is 87, 89. I'm just speculating, or maybe someone just typed something in wrong, but that's Kelsey's price. It's so weird. But you got Kelsey, Laporta, Hawkinson, Andrews, Goddard, There's nothing else I like. I mean, I guess you can take a shot at Dalton Schultz. I wouldn't go Higbee. He's $200 cheaper than what he was last week, but now, you got Cooper Kupp back. Um, Kyle Pitts is like not gonna get any receptions or do anything because Desmond Ritter's his QB. Connor Hayward and Darnell Washington are the backups for Pittsburgh because Pat Freiermuth is out. You can take shots on those guys if you really want. I think Laporta's in a good spot. I also think Dallas Goedert's in a good spot. I at 5,500. If I had to choose one, I would probably just go on the safer side, I guess, and just go Laporta. So that should actually just about do it now that I think of it. Just make sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna put a bunch of links in the description, you know, stochastic showing you guys this stuff and everything else. So